modern isolation chamber, a space where 21st century humans invest hundreds of hours of their mental energy, sculpting narratives, cutting visuals, sharpening aesthetics, and surrendering a piece of their creative soul into a single digital file. They press one button, publish, and the digital universe answers them with absolute silence, 0, or perhaps a single-digit view count. This is not merely a statistical failure, it is a mass psychological phenomenon we call cognitive deadlock. When modern test subjects find themselves trapped in this deafening silence, their panic response is always identical. They rush to seek external validation, consuming hundreds of hours of tactical tutorials, mechanically copying rigid formulas from digital mentors, only to find that the labyrinth remains completely unmoved. The numbers on their screen refuse to budge. A cold dissection of why our brains are hardwired to crave instant utopia, how ancient existential philosophy predicted this modern digital despair, and the ruthless mathematical mechanics behind a global recommendation system that treats human originality as nothing more than raw, unrefined sample data. Why are modern humans so easily lured into the paralyzing trap of high expectations before they even begin a project? The answer is locked within the evolutionary blueprint of our nervous system. Architecturally, the human brain is a reward-seeking machine. When a creator plans to launch a new venture in the digital space, their mind unconsciously executes affective forecasting, a predictive emotional simulation of the future. Unfortunately, this mental simulation is deeply flawed from birth due to a cognitive blind spot known as impact bias. We possess an inherent tendency to overestimate the emotional intensity of future events. When your mind simulates a scenario where your work instantly explodes on a global scale, your brain releases a massive wave of dopamine immediately. To your neurons, that comforting success has already happened, long before any physical effort is even exerted. High expectations act as an ego defense mechanism, projecting cognitive control over an inherently unpredictable world. However, when the work is finally released into physical reality and collides with the wall of absolute silence, the nervous system executes a brutal biological calculus. If the actual reward minus the predicted reward results in a negative value, dopamine neurons undergo a violent, sudden crash below normal baseline thresholds. This is precisely why staring at a single view after predicting millions feels so physically painful. It is not just simple disappointment. It is a small-scale chemical depression inside your skull that triggers maladaptive perfectionism, a state where a subject's self-esteem is evaluated purely by external metrics. To escape this cognitive agony, they freeze up, slipping into a zero-order thinking state, mindlessly copying rigid external blueprints without critical reasoning until they completely run out of problem-solving space. If you believe this internet-induced despair is a novel human condition, you are mistaken. The most brilliant minds in history, the existential philosophers, inhabited this exact same dark room centuries ago. Today, we view great works of philosophy as monuments of divine intellectuals. But the historical reality, most of those radical thoughts were born from the womb of deep existential dread, crushing isolation, and a desperate struggle against a reality that felt painfully slow, flat, and mundane. The difference is they did not let their daydreams morph into wild delusions. They used incredibly rigid logic and strict intellectual discipline to structure the chaos inside their own minds. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer stated that human life swings like a pendulum between desire and frustration. High expectations are a form of imaginary utopia constructed by humans to escape the flatness of the present moment. We weave an illusion of comfort with massive expectations, masking the brutal reality that the universe, and in a modern context, the algorithm, runs on cold randomness, requires slow incubation periods, and remains entirely indifferent to individual desires. When external metrics like views or mass validation hijack your creative energy, the over-justification effect takes over. The original activity that was once intrinsically joyful transforms into a sterile and hollow obligation. Creators become anxious, minimize original experimentation, and lazily mirror the formulas of their competitors. The resulting work loses its human touch, its aesthetic soul, and its artistic weight. Let us cast aside all emotional bias and look at this digital architecture objectively. Why do the rigid instructions of online creator mentors so often fail to rescue a new piece of work from absolute silence? Because modern recommendation systems do not operate on simplistic, search-based SEO rules. This global network is driven by massive artificial deep neural networks operating in two distinct filtering stages. The first stage is candidate generation. Using collaborative filtering methods, the algorithm sifts through billions of videos in the database, reducing them to a few hundred rough candidates based on a user's watch history and course demographic pen tokens. The second stage is ranking. This is where originality is truly tested. Utilizing a weighted logistic regression model, the algorithm scores these few hundred candidate videos individually to predict expected watch time. Not merely the simple click probability, the system hunts for depth of human engagement, systematically bypassing basic clickbait. For a newly born digital entity, the system encounters a classic AI dilemma: the cold start problem. Lacking established user embeddings or historical audience data, the algorithm has no idea which specific group of humans is suited for this work. To break this data deadlock, the system allocates a small, experimental pool of impressions called a seed audience. Two primary metrics act as the ultimate gatekeepers: click-through rate to evaluate the external packaging, and average view duration to confirm retention, particularly within the first critical 30 seconds. To break out of this cognitive deadlock and accelerate database incubation, we must enforce a set of 3 tactical protocols that protect both mental stability and technical performance. Locking the dichotomy of control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus asserted that misery arises when humans invest emotional currency into things outside their control. External metrics, views, impressions, and algorithmic behavior lie entirely outside your direct command. Your objectives must be strictly internalized, not to achieve an arbitrary number, but to execute the most precise narrative structure and visual quality you are humanly capable of. The supremacy of systems over goals. As popularized by Scott Adams and James Clear, relying on rigid goals keeps you in a perpetual state of failure until the final target is hit. Instead, build a daily system focused on a 1% marginal improvement. Creators backed by a robust production system do not care about today's temporary numbers. They view early works as the necessary phase of filling their digital shelves with high-value assets. An evergreen back catalog. Growth in a premium global market is exponential, driven by a delayed snowball effect. When a single video eventually breaks through the noise, the audience will instinctively binge-watch your entire library of cataloged assets. In the grand calculus of the internet, the digital labyrinth is ultimately just a sequence of cold mathematical programs, requiring time to scan, match, and confirm the existence of a new voice amidst a dense global current. When your work sits stranded at 0 views, the universe is not punishing your artistic talent. It is returning you to point zero, a quiet, desolate valley, but one entirely cleansed of the noise of false external praise. This is where your mentality is truly forged. Will you choose to break apart under the weight of unrealistic, instant expectations? Or will you choose to stand rationally, erect your fortress of logic directly from point zero, savor the depth of your research, and allow the cold machine to process your finest assets in the background of a global network? Take a step back and rest if the process has drained your energy. And after that, return to your workspace. Strip away the rigid targets, lock your analytics dashboard, and begin building a digital library of premium character. Map your darkness, partner. And I will see you in the next narrative.